All right. So with graduation coming, and most of our group of friends within Elite and the Terrys, all of us are now graduating. The big question is, what are you going to do next? Plans after graduation? Where are you planning on working? And um, over the years, I've had some thoughts on how to prepare for this. So I kind of just wanted to share those thoughts and uh, how my approach, how I would recommend going about it, and then just some thoughts on the job application process, the interview process, and how to sell yourself, and knowing kind of the role that you're going into as an employee, a new employee in a company. So I actually wrote out an outline of my thoughts behind it, and I've been speaking with faculty members, and I want to reach out to some of them that have given me good advice throughout my years here, and I refer to them as my board of directors. So as a business, um, you have board of directors, you have shareholders, you have the management team, you have the employees, and you have your customers. But early on in my business classes, they recommended we have a personal board of directors, people that we would go to in case a big career decision was going to happen, a move, somebody that we can ask questions and get some thoughts and perspective on from people that have done it before. So I have a personal board of directors at the very top that that I have been meeting with, and I'm going to continue setting up meetings with to get more feedback. But the purpose of it, one of the thoughts that immediately kind of jotted this planning and the outline for me to make it was, a man's job is to provide for his family, and as as most of us are going to start graduating, that's really the big question, is how are we going to provide for our family? Some of us may have girlfriends, fiancés, wives, kids that we need to help financially and support them. But some of us may have siblings that have kids, or some of us may have siblings that want to go to college, or some of our parents may be retiring, so we're going to have to take on a heavier bill toll. So as men, it is our job to provide for families, and the job interviewing process, the sending out of resumes, the getting in a company and finding your work schedule within the company and adding value to the company is how we are going to be able to financially provide for our families. So a man's job is to provide for his family. And then all of us are going to have different reasons why. For me personally, dad's retiring, sister's going to start college soon, family in Mexico is interested in starting businesses, and then with more money coming into our hands, we'll be able to distribute it to where we believe are going to impact the most people. So with our group of friends, the moment some of us start working, we'll be able to then help each other out on business ideas. We'll be able to pitch, or we'll be able to help fund some of our own business ideas. But the first part of it is being able to generate income, or help a company generate more income, so then we get paid more. And with some of the resources, so resources are going to be different for everyone who's doing the interview, but for the most part, your resources are your education level. So if you have any certificates, if you have any training, job specific training, any degrees, the way you talk about it with someone that's interviewing is key. So right now, one of my biggest resources is my entrepreneurship degree, or is going to be my entrepreneurship degree. Other resources, I put library. I have a collection of maybe 100 books or so, but those books, if anyone comes around, if any business is hiring me and they ask me, do you read, or if I give a question and they ask, where did you get that idea from, I can then expand upon the library. Or it may never come up in the job interview. It may be that through my reading, I approached a certain scenario or problem at work differently, and if it goes well or works well, then the book really helped me establish myself in my new company. And if it doesn't take long for your boss or the person above you to notice that you're achieving and doing more and helping the company in more ways than necessarily your job was supposed to, they'll start looking for ways to actually let you move up in the company or giving you more responsibility, which in the long run is gonna benefit both the company because you're a great worker, but also yourself because with more responsibility, you'll be able to add it to your resume, network more, meet more people, and then generate more income. A vehicle is a huge resource because you'll be able to move, and also the internet. 20, 30, 40 years ago, Amazon, YouTube, and Google were not businesses. They were not real things. And with today, if you're able to utilize Amazon in a beneficial way, that's a huge resource that no one ever had in history. YouTube, if you're able to find helpful YouTube channels for whatever it is you want to do. An example that comes to mind is my dad is kind of a handyman now. He goes around and helps people with water heaters, plumbing, mechanical problems sometimes, but he uses YouTube to learn how to fix water heaters or do plumbing, and then he goes and helps other people who don't necessarily have the time or really want to do all the research to fix things. But because that's what he's enjoyed doing, working with his hands, interacting with people, it's perfect for him to watch a couple YouTube videos, go help someone out, and then get paid for it. So we have the internet as a resource. So that was kind of just one of my outlines. Professor today, I went and spoke with him, and he told me 2 pieces of advice. It's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. You may have a dream job, but it may not be the first job. You have a level, you want to make $100,000 or $50,000, but the way it's going to happen may not be how you think it's going to happen. As entrepreneurs, I think it's beneficial to have an idea of where you want to go, but let the process take you where it will. And that's kind of when he told me that, that's kind of what it reminded me of. And then the second piece of advice is do the best wherever you are. If right now you're working at Subway or a gas station, just make the best sandwiches you can and try to see where your manager needs more help and help them. Because then you never know when that manager maybe becomes a district manager of 5 Subways or 10 Subways. They may need an assistant manager to oversee a couple stores, and that may be you. It's going to be the person who's been willing to help the company the most. And then if you work at a gas station, just do the best that you can, and then hopefully with more business knowledge or videos and more a little bit more learning about the particular aspects of the business, you'll talk to your manager or your GM or your assistant GM, ask questions about how the business is doing, how your role in the business helps the overall business. And through them seeing that you're interested, they may take you under your wing. They may try to put you in a position to move up and show that you are capable of taking on more responsibility. And with more responsibility comes a better opportunity to provide for family. Most of us are in the Houston area, or at least in Texas. And my professor told me the big areas in Texas, the big industries are oil and gas, the energy sector, real estate, banking, and drilling. So if you're kind of looking for an industry to get into, looking into those industries, trying to connect with people online, trying to set up lunches, coffees, and ask just questions about what it's like to be in that environment may be a great way to try to get your foot in the door somewhere. So those are just some overall thoughts on planning, on career planning, and the resources that we could use. But I also want to talk a little bit about resumes and how to speak about your resume in a way that gives you a good chance to show your employer or your future employer or the company that you're applying for that although you may not be the best candidate, that you're very willing to learn, that you're hardworking, and that you really just want to do the best for the company, because the better the company is, the better you will be, the more secure you will be, the better opportunities that will come your way, and eventually the more responsibility that the company will be willing to give you. So on a resume, some of the sections can be very different, but education. So in my example, I have a bachelor's of business administration and entrepreneurship. It's recommended that you put your GPA if it's fairly good. If not, don't worry about it. GPA isn't really all that. It's more about the experiences. But GPA, and then if you happen to have any certificates or anything, in 2 of my entrepreneurship classes, we were partnered with an online business course from Santa Clara University in California, and so after finishing the online course of the section, they give you a certificate. This one is on starting a business course, and this one and the other one is business expansion. So some professors told me to add those certificates because it may be something that just sets you apart. And the resume is really, that's all you're looking for. Something to set you apart for them to say, I'm interested in bringing this person into an interview. And then work experience. I worked at a department on campus that helped, it was called Leadership Initiatives. And it was a department that tried to have leadership workshops. We had a leadership library, and there was a lot of social media stuff going on. Well, early on, there was a lot of room for improvement within the department, and my former boss and I thought a lot about new programs, new workshops that we can have. So the way you explain it on a resume, I just have 3 bullet points under SHSU Leadership Initiatives Research Assistant. And so the first bullet point is developed and conducted leadership workshops that promoted knowledge acquisition, personal development, and professional skills training. Now, that was not the way I thought of writing it down, but we have a college and career services center, and after being able to just talk about what my experience was like at work, they had somebody who is kind of an expert on resume writing, and they made it sound super professional, well written, and sometimes that it's really just looking online or trying to ask somebody for help. Hey, do you know the way I can word my work experience to show that kind of my responsibilities in a better light, in a more professional way? Communicated with faculty members on marketing strategies and collaboration opportunities. Researched and used social media for marketing outreach and delivery of educational content. So those have been my work experiences. And then in colleges and universities, they really recommend getting involved in organizations, and not just getting involved, but taking an officer position. So another section is leadership experience, and then under leadership experience, I was a president for one of the organizations that I was in, and I oversaw a fundraiser that happened to involve more universities than just this one. So there was actually 13 universities, and having to communicate with everyone to keep updated, that kind of shows project management. Even though at the time it was just a couple of texts, making sure that they send me their schedules and dates for when they were having events so I could promote them. But that's really what it was. We, as part of that organization, we helped start a high school mentorship program between first generation students and the members of the organization. So putting that on there shows that you've already been used to taking responsibility and designing and establishing certain new initiatives. Shows that you will be able to move upward within a company because they can trust that you've already had experience doing smaller scale stuff. But as you become more knowledgeable within the industry, they'll have more faith in you because of what you've done in your past. Directed meetings, communicated between executives and the organization members, and then so those are just overall thoughts on the applying for jobs and thoughts on how to sell your stuff.